this is their first feast and their first time here in Cleveland, or anybody, this is their first time at a Sukkot, especially here in Cleveland, or even if you've done Sukkots, but you've never done one with us before and come all the way here to do it, to have you come up and share some of your experience. Because I'd like the people out there to know what coming here was like, okay? And so if you want to line up, if anybody wants to share, especially those who came from other countries, I'd love for you to come up and share, please, okay? And just a little bit of what your experience was being here, okay? And also, again, even if you were not from another country, but this is your first time at MTOI, at a feast, and your first experience with us, and coming to Cleveland, etc., okay? All right. And then live stream, same thing. Okay, if we have time, we'll get some of the live stream experiences as well. As far as your first time interacting with a feast, maybe you've never kept a feast before, even though you're home, but we'd love to just hear some of that if we have time for that. But we'll start over here.
So we are coming from Amarillo, Texas.
Okay.
And this was one of those years where I was determined, even if I don't know what I'm doing with the feast, I will follow the feast. So coming here was kind of one of those big steps in moving forward in following Yah's laws. And it was a blessing, a complete blessing. I know I gave the praise much earlier in the week, but on my way here, I got a call from my manager saying, like, hey, we want to move you into management. And personally, I think that's part of me starting to observe the feast. And then meeting all of you was amazing, especially meeting the people who were coming from much farther away, and getting tons of perspective in that manner, getting to counsel with you as well.
Hi. You guys
didn't introduce yourselves. You said Amarillo, Texas, but go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I wanted to see if you remembered my name this time.
Joshua.
Hey!
Took me 4 times of you coming up, but
it's okay. I'm sure that's names too.
And I'm Florencia.
Okay, Joshua and Florencia.
So with this feast, I just started listening to m.t.o.i. in May. My husband was listening to it since last September. But once we moved into our new place, I started listening to it, and from the first day I started listening to it on YouTube, I just felt like I was at home. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be a part of. So I told my husband that, and we just decided all or nothing. We're gonna do this. And so part of that was coming to the feast, and I'm just thankful that we made it here. Thankful for everybody here, just Rabbi, just everybody, your genuine hearts, genuine love, God's love being shown here. I appreciate everything, and I remember my husband asking me if there was anything that I didn't want to volunteer for, and I was like, I don't care if I'm wiping down toilets. To me, for this ministry, for God, I'll do anything.
Amen.
And I'm thankful that I have the chance to show y'all that.
Amen.
And thank you.
Amen. All right, next, Michelle from Tasmania, which is actually part of Australia. Which I did know. I did know that.
No,
okay.
Thank you. You made me feel very special. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So I kind of have been convinced to get up here by Pete Lamb. So this will probably be the only time you ever see me up here. So he kind of said, you need to get up and share your story. So
well, you came about as far as anybody.
I know. I know, well, I was joking on Marco Polo, but it wasn't a joke. Literally at the end of my road, if you dive off the cliff, which you wouldn't do, at the end of my road, and then start swimming, you'd hit Antarctica. So I really literally am one of the four corners, I think.
All right, there you go. So Tasmania is not quite the end of the world, but you can see it from there.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically at my street.
From your street
Literally,
even?
I could walk to the cliff
There
and
you
then
go.
jump off and start swimming.
There you go.
Yeah, so anyhow.
And then be arrested by the governments who don't want you to go to Antarctica.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, let's not go there. I know all about that. So I think I have to kind of backtrack a little bit. I've been coming into this walk about 6 years. I've sold everything to be here, and I'm trusting the Father with my entire life. But I want to say...
So Michelle is planning to stay. And let there be a message to all of you thinking, well, I can't just up and leave and sell everything and move from my country to Cleveland, Tennessee. You can.
Yeah, and alone as well. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like, I was off-grid. I've been going through my second divorce, I'm embarrassed to say. But you've said I've picked poorly, so... Thank you for being my covering and saying you'll help me next time. That means more than I can say. Not good marriages, but I won't go down that road. I was off-grid and just felt the Father wanted me to do it. I've been living under a Tasmanian rock for about 10 years probably. Very rural, so kind of very alone. But what I'd like to say is my walk that Pete Lamb said, and his lovely wife, who I can't remember your name, I'm so sorry. Brenda. Thank you. She's beautiful. You're all beautiful, by the way. I'd also like to say quickly, and I do waffle, so I apologize, that I really feel like your family, and I don't even know you, and I've never had that before, so thank you. But the point I wanted to say, which is Abba called me, the Father called me. And there's two highlights I can pick from my story, and I'll pick really, as quickly as I can, two highlights. So when I was 13, I was bitten by 2 ticks, and I suddenly became covered in a rash, and I couldn't walk. And nobody knew what it was. And back then, because I'm a bit older than I look, they didn't really know much about Lyme disease. And they definitely didn't have the testing that they have now. And even now, it's not accurate. But I couldn't walk, I could hardly talk, I could hardly do anything. And after about a year of being in hospital, they said, oh, she's just crazy. She's making it up, which I don't quite see how you can make up a rash that covers your entire body. But literally, I couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair. And so I kind of had a crazy doctor who kind of locked me away at 13 and put me in a room, isolation. And yeah. It was probably a very traumatic story, but what I'm trying to get to is I would not take a second back, because in that moment, it was the first time I prayed. So I was in there for a very long time, and I don't know how long, but they would not let me out of that room. And I was 13, and they removed my parents. They wouldn't let my parents come and see me. They wouldn't let anyone in the room. It was like a prison, like a confined prison. They wouldn't take me outside. They just put me in a chair. And so the first time, I didn't know how to pray, but I had an extremely Catholic grandmother that I knew about Jesus. So that was the only term I knew back then. And so I remember praying that first time and saying, so everyone's left me, Father. I knew that much. And I did my first prayer. And I said, okay, if you're real up there, if you're real, please get me out of here, because I know I'm not crazy. I know something's wrong. So I did my first prayer, and I felt the presence of this love in the room suddenly that just I didn't know how to pray. So I was just a child praying. And he kind of covered me with his love. And shortly after that, to cut a long story short, just before they did shock treatment, my mum walked into that room and she dragged me out of there. She convinced the doctors, we'll bribe them, because you can't get out of places like that. Once you're in, that's it. And she bribed them to let me home for an afternoon. But she whispered in my ear as she's wheeling me out of there, going, don't worry, never going back. And Abba used her to step up and go, my daughter's not going to be given shock treatment. And so fast forward 30 years, and I still had Lyme disease on and off, and being in a wheelchair on and off, but he finally healed me just after recently, about 6 years ago. This is my long waffle, getting to the point, Michelle. So about 6 years ago, on the dirt road that I'm telling you about that goes to Antarctica, I had a car accident. So on and off, I'm sick all that time, right? And I trusted the Father, and He's given me so many miracles. This is the two highlights. And so I'm going down this dirt road, and it had been snowing and raining, and I was doing 80 kilometers an hour. I don't quite know what that is in your language, but
48.
Okay. I don't normally drive that fast, even though my dad was a racing car driver. But I was going fast because I hate being late. Like you, I like being early. I had to go somewhere. Anyhow, I was on my road, and I kind of slipped, and the car crashed. I kind of veered over to the wrong side of the road and then kind of smashed into a tree. And the whole massive four-wheel drive was completely smashed, like the big metal bull bars that you guys have here. Like, I love those bull bars, but they're huge. And I smashed into a tree. And then the car, this is what Pete said I have to get up and talk about. So the car literally, when it smashed into the tree, I just passed a guy, which is really rare to pass someone on this road. And there's a series of miracles I'd like to give you encouragement about. And this is when Abba popped my bubble just after this car accident. That the first miracle was that I passed a car, and just as he looked up, as he passed me, he looked up in the revision mirror, and he saw me go off the cliff. So the first miracle was that Abba got this guy to look up at the exact moment that he saw me behind him go over the cliff. And so I survived the impact of the tree. Then my car literally went this way because we were on the other side of the road. So I'm up here going down the side of the cliff. And
that's what you get for being on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson. Anyhow, so, okay, that's right. So I'm sliding down this mountain kind of thing, or kind of like a steep embankment. And I'm like looking up, and there's like red stuff on this side of my passenger window. The windscreen is completely shattered. There's red stuff all over the windscreen in the front, just on my side, right? So I'm sliding down this mountain, looking up at my window, going, oh, my brains are on the windscreen. Like, how am I thinking? And so this is when I was Christian, and I'm praying. I just sort of went, oh, wow, okay, this is it. This is it. And I'm sliding down, the car's filling up with smoke, everything's crushed, and then I hit something. And of course, I didn't know what it was, but I'll tell you what it was in a second. I'm sitting there up like this, and the first thing I'm going, because the car's filling up with smoke, I'm thinking, okay, I need to get out. So I released my seatbelt, and so I fell into the passenger seat, but my legs were crushed in the front. Okay, problem number one. And I'm being very methodical about it. Okay, so now I can't get out. Okay, so this is really it. So that's the second time I thought this is really it. And then the car's filling up with smoke, and I'm going, I don't know what that is. This is really it. And then suddenly, this man appeared at the window and said, well, he wasn't at the window because the window's kind of up here, but he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Not really."
That would be the first question I would ask someone who's crushed in a car that flipped over and hit a tree. Are you okay?
I know, and it was
Need any help?
I know, I did think that was quite unusual.
Cup of coffee? I mean...
Yeah, I know. I'm just hanging here, just, I thought that was quite odd, but bless him, he was panicking. I could hear in his voice. And I quite calmly said, no, not really. And he said, "Oh, I'll get help. Anyway, I said, okay. And then I started praying. And of course, Jesus was the only name I knew. So I said, if this is it, I trust you. But if it's not, please get me out of here. Sorry, and that was when the guy turned up. Sorry, I'll fast forward as quick as I can. So anyhow, within like 5 minutes, the ambulance happened to be, because I'm 2 hours away from anything, the ambulance happened to be literally round the corner.
Right.
And so they turned up. The paramedic looks at me. It sounds like an Irish joke now. There's a paramedic and a policeman who got in a car. And then there's this Irish girl who's like, anyway.
You're just missing a rabbi.
Yeah,
Perfect joke.
I know. I was going to say that.
And a priest and a rabbi.
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect joke.
Yeah, you turn up later in that. Anyhow, so I don't know why there's a pencil here.
And the first thing I said was, "Need any help?"
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Anyhow, so the policeman gets in the car. I don't know, to this day, I don't know how they got in there, but they got in there because the car's like this. Anyhow, they got in there, they climbed in there. They look completely freaked out because they're looking at the red stuff on the ceiling, on the back of my head, on the driver's side, smashed, hanging from a tree. But I didn't know that my car was hanging from a small tree branch, stopping it from falling to the fast-flowing river that was just below. So they knew that. I didn't.
Right.
I'm like, and then there was a big tree that was about to fall, which they call in Australia a widowmaker. Right. So you can understand what, yeah. So anyhow, the police guy's taking my details quickly because he's like, I'm going to have to say who passed away, like, who are you?
Yeah, who are you that passed away?
And I'm going, okay, well, I'm this and that. And he goes, you're like handling this like really well. Like, you're really calm. And I wanted to preach to him right there, but I didn't. I was like, oh, well, yeah. And anyhow, they're looking freaked out. The ambulance guy hands him a syringe and says, can you draw up? And he goes, yeah. Anyhow, next thing I know, he's saying, I'm going to give you something for the pain, because I said, oh, my head. And still at that point, I thought that was my brains, right? So what had actually happened, so I don't forget, is that shopping in the back, pasta sauce had hit the back of my head and hit literally right above my head, hit the back of my head, hit there and hit there. So chunks of onion look like...
Listen, I counsel some people that I think what's going on in there is chunks of onion and some pasta sauce. So,
yeah. And
now I know you've answered a question.
Yeah.
Elder, it's pasta sauce and chunks of onion. Going on.
Yeah, chunks of onion do look like brains. And that's why I was like, why am I thinking? Like, my brains are anyhow, so I digress. But what was really weird is my husband at the time is called m.t.o.i. It's an Italian brand. He was pitching in Sydney for m.t.o.i. And it just hit his wife's head. That was really another side of it. But anyhow, so basically he's saying, okay, you're handling this really well. And then I said, oh, my head, because it started to hurt. I was really calm, but I think that's a gift others given me. But he said, oh, I'm going to give you something for the pain. So because he'd asked the policeman, who's clearly not trained in drawing up drugs, he overdosed me. And I passed away. So I'm quite little, I'm quite mini. I didn't realize I was going to be able to stand over this, like you see my eyes, but he overdosed me. I had a big, thick Tasmanian Antarctica jacket on, and the feather down ones, and he misjudged how small I am, and so he overdosed me. And the last thing I remember saying was, "Oh no," because I felt it in my veins, like I felt it going through me, and all I can explain it is like death just going through me. And I don't even take Panadol because I'm very sensitive. I'm quite allergic to a lot of things. They weren't to know that, bless them, but they weren't to know that. So the next thing I remember was him pressing down on my chest and a lot of panic in the car, and I stopped breathing. But what I would like to get to the point of is that I'd been a Christian for a long time, but I knew that I'd put him on a shelf, and I knew that I was obviously not on the right page. And he, in that moment, I tried to stay alive. I tried to stay here, but there was a moment where I gave up. And I just remember a whole lot of commotion in the car, a whole lot of panic. And then suddenly I gave up. And I would really like to sit down and talk to you about this because I know you sleep but I felt his presence there. And I can tell you there is no sin in his presence. It was just black. I'm not saying, like
you went anywhere.
I went anywhere. No,
I
felt him.
Felt something.
And I'm always very wary of saying you hear from God or you hear from the Father, but I did feel, and I could be wrong, him say, "Not now." Mm-hmm. And so after that moment, they managed to cut the car open and pull me out in a stretcher. And because of my experience, I was like, no, you don't understand. I was gone, and they put me in a helicopter, and Abba popped my bubble soon after that. I took my life very seriously, and I give him all the praise and the glory for all that's ever happened to me, because I wouldn't take a minute of it back, because he caused and allowed when I was 13, this and everything to mold me and shape me, and to get me ready to be a Torah observant Israelite. So.
Fantastic. All right. Hey, John, turn it just a little bit. Yeah, that'll probably help. All right. Okay, now this is why I wanted to do this. That was awesome. I mean, that was just, not only did we get to hear some stuff that really is praiseworthy to Yah, but it just, I think everybody now feels like we know you a whole lot more, and that's part of the, building of the relationships, is that we get to hear these stories, and they're just really powerful. And I'm just still trying to picture all of this happening while one little branch is holding a car up, and they're trying to get the car open and cutting it open and everything else. And what if this thing had broken, I mean, just incredible. So that's fantastic. Okay, who's next? Okay, Yenny?
Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat Shalom.
As I told all of you yesterday, I was a Jehovah's Witness. And as a Jehovah's Witness and a child in there, you learn that if you don't trust and believe in Jehovah, your tongue will rot in your mouth while you're standing on your feet. And our children's books were earthquake, where people fall down, and death all over. So I grew older, and I became a help pioneer and went out to the doors and told people that they are saved if they came into this religion. And then I just couldn't anymore. I didn't want to knock on the doors. It just wasn't me. So they expelled me. I lost some of my brothers and my sister. My parents I lost for 6 months. I lived on the street. I was kicked out within 5 minutes. Slept in the city park on a bench but it was summer, it was okay. And then a young couple on drugs helped me to find a social worker. And from there, I was 16, it was in 1986. Since then, I have taken care of myself. I lived my entire life in fear of getting hit by a lightning or Jehovah just killing me, heart attack, something. I was afraid. And one day it was just too much. Because I also learned that if outside the religion you get children, they are going to be slaughtered. So I couldn't anymore. So I took the car, drove to the sea, next to the world's largest windmill, and I looked up the sky. And who are you? I want to know who you are. First I was rude. At least he could tell me his name is before he kills me. And a little later I was crying. I was sad and please, I just want to know your name, and my life is not worth living. I know I'm not coming into paradise, but right now give my life some meaning. And just all of a sudden, no crying. I know now the word for it. I had complete shalom. My suicide thoughts were away, and I was just looking up the sky. I knew he heard me. Nobody can tell me different. I went home. I wanted to hear some classical music. And right there, Rabbi, do you know the Father and the Son? So I listened to it.
It is a classic.
But I want to tell you, I didn't have a YouTube account. So it don't remember what I see. But I saw all your teachings and I got an answer. And also he's a Sabbath keeper. So my children was playing with this, with my laptop, and I wanted to look what else you made. I couldn't find you. I heard someone else, some of his teachings, I can't remember, Stalin, something. He went to jail after he turned the entire congregation to Christians. So this can't be right. And right
You're talking about
there,
Staley.
Staley, yeah. Right out there, prophets, beware of false prophets. I listened to you, and here I am.
All right, that's Jenny from Denmark, right? Who also is in the process of moving here. All right, fantastic. All right, Monica from Mexico.
First of all, I feel a little bit like I have been here before. I was here early talking. So I have to tell you, this has been the most beautiful experience in my life. I love it. I have met so many wonderful people, and I am very thankful for it. As my story, it's amazing. It's beautiful. I wouldn't change anything. I mean, it has been very tough. I have gone through a lot of things in my life that have been very difficult. And now that I can look back, I say, I wouldn't change anything because it got me here.
Amen.
It got me here, and
Amen.
praise God. Praise God for that. when I was 11 years old, I suffered meningitis, and there was no. Well, there's people who got meningitis, bacterial meningitis, like I got it. 98% die, and 2% just survive, and I was one of those. And not only that, but I was like a vegetable. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't look, I couldn't see, I couldn't hear, I couldn't talk, I was a vegetable. And God gave me just 1 second of clarity in my mind, because I couldn't think anything. And I heard the doctor saying to my mom, it was so amazing because my mom was crying like crazy. So I wanted to tell her, I'm okay, Mom, but I couldn't say anything. I couldn't move, I couldn't not. And the doctor said to her, she's never gonna be the same. And I remember thinking, like, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
So it took me 3 years to really learn, retrain my brain and relearn, and I had a lot of therapy and a lot of help and a lot of amazing things. Now, going forward, I became a teacher, and I started working as a teacher, and I love it and everything, but I never put it together why I had meningitis until later when I was a teacher, and I was married to the most amazing husband who died. But anyway, my husband, he was so beautiful and amazing, and we went to an orphanage. So when we were in the orphanage in Mexico, there was a little boy who was 9 years old, and he couldn't talk. He was just able to scream, that's it, and he was 9. And I remember God telling me, work with him. And I was like, I can't work with him. I'm a teacher, I'm not. But he doesn't stop, right? God tells you until you do it. So I say, okay, I'm gonna do it, but you have to help me. You have to teach me. And he did. Like, he gave me dreams, he put people in my way, a lot of beautiful therapists to work with me. And then this boy was able to speak. But the amazing thing is that I was going through it, and then I started thinking, I know what he needs. I know, because I've been there. I know what you need. It was very neat. And then I put together, I got meningitis so I can help children, because I've been there and I know what they need to focus and to think and to talk and all those things. So I went back to school and I took a lot of extra courses and titles and a lot of other things, and I just love it. And I was in we didn't know where to go. Like, I wanted to follow God, but we didn't know where to go. And then we were just driving, and there was a church that says, God is here. And we said, okay, let's go there. So we went to that church. And we were in that church.
I wish I'd have had that idea, if that would work.
Put the sign.
Put the sign out of that.
Yeah, that's it. Get the sign.
That's simple. Why not?
So I was learning a little bit more about God, and I was very excited because somebody was teaching me something. I was in the Catholic Church before, so that was neat that somebody was teaching. But it wasn't quite what I needed. Like, they didn't answer all my questions and everything. And then my husband came, because he knew I was looking, and he said, the Seventh-day Adventists have a seminar. We are going to go. And it was quite funny because this seminar, they were 28 or 36 days. In order to go there, it was 45 minutes away. And my husband told me, we can go, but we're only going to one. Only one, that's it. And I said, okay, only one. We end up going to all of them. All of them. And I got baptized. My husband was so upset that he walked. That was so funny. He walked all the way from Rutland to my house. That's an hour. It's about an hour walking. In the car, and he walked. So it took him 2 hours to get home. And I was I was kind of laughing at him. So I became a Seventh-day Adventist, and then he told me, but I will prove it to you that there is no God. And he made it his thing to find out that there was no God, but he came to the conclusion there has to be a God because everything is so beautiful. So anyway, I was in the Adventist church. My husband was there too. He had a evolution against creation because he used to not believe that. And I used to run so many ministries. I mean, all kinds of ministries, children's stories, vacation Bible schools, children ministry, everything, a lot of ministries. But I knew that Ellen White wasn't right. And when my husband told me, I was like, yes, I can't deny it, I have to go. But I can't. I'm very involved in the church. I can't. It was winter time, and the reason I have to say that it was winter because I went down by the lake where all the dogs are swimming together to keep warm. And I say to God, okay, Father, I have to leave, but I can't. But if I have to leave, you have to bring one dog. It has to swim out, and then I know. And it happened. And I say, no, it didn't happen. This is just a fluke. This is a fluke. Okay, God, it has to happen again, but this time the dog has to come here. And he came. And the dog was looking at me like, quack, quack. Can I go now? Can I go? So that was funny. So I knew I had to go. And then I said to God, okay, I have to go, but I can't. You have to open a window. And he did. 2 days later, there was a little problem with my kids in school, and my husband told me, there's the window, and I said, let's go. So we left. And it was really neat. We have heard about Yeshua, and we have heard not just about Yeshua, and we already kept the Sabbath, so that was okay. But then 3 months later, my husband died. And it was the hardest thing for me because he was an amazing man. It was the hardest thing for me, but I say to God, God, this is big, this is very big, but you are bigger. And when I say that, things start getting better in my life. I start seeing the light, and I went back to school and I did things. And it was really hard because my husband, my children, they were 13 and 12. They not just lost their dad, but also their mom. I had to go to work. I was working. The good part is that I'm a teacher, so I only work in the daytime, so that was good. So I can be with them in the afternoon, but then I had to take some courses to upgrade my schooling and whatever. But it worked until I got, about 10 years later, I got married again. But this is my problem. That was my fault because I wanted to. See, my kids were leaving the house, and I thought, oh, okay, it's time to get married. What am I going to do here? So this person came, and he told me everything that I want to hear, and I was like, whoo, that's good. So I got married right away. It was a big mistake. He just pretended that he was a Christian, and Yeshua, and he told me that I was breaking Torah if I left him, and if I did. But I'm glad I found marriage putting away and whatever it is.
Divorce, marriage, and putting away.
Divorce,
remarriage, and putting away.
Yeah, so I watched that, and I was so amazed because I could divorce and I wasn't breaking Torah. And I was like, wow. And then I called you, and I was like, okay, this crazy woman that you never seen in your life just ask you, would you be my covering? And you say, yes. And I was like, really? Like, wow, that's neat. So I started studying more. I got divorced and everything, and now I started studying more. And it's amazing. So I wouldn't change anything. And even though that he wasn't the a great husband. He was like an asshole. I'm happy. I'm very happy. And I can have to say, thank you for being so difficult. Thank you, so I can learn from you. I can come to you and learn from you.
That's a technical term. To see you. No.
So.
And I counseled her, and he was. Okay.
Yes. But thank you for that, because I end up here, and when I learned that I was Israel, it was like, oh my goodness, this is so beautiful, and I just love it. It's beautiful. It's just, I have no words to say. It's just beautiful.
All right.
Thank you.